Hey guys, I'm here with a 1982 Rabbit two-door. I picked this up recently with intention of turning it into an autocross car. It's in good shape, pretty much no rust anywhere. It's a 1.6 carbureted engine. I'm going to remove this and replace it with something else, probably a 2.0 ABA. If I do what I want to do, I'll be running it on ITBs. We will see how that goes though. The interior in this car is extremely clean, and I plan on dismantling this entire car and selling all the bits and pieces that I do not need. So all of these items will end up on my eBay store. I will link at the bottom of the video to the eBay store if you're interested in some of these parts. Yeah, considering it's going to be an autocross car, I'm not going to need pretty much any of this other than the front seats, and I'll be switching from the 4-speed transmission to a 5-speed transmission, so I won't need the shifter or any of that because I'll need to grab the 5-speed setup from a junkyard. I'm not going to use the original dash or any of that either. So all this stuff will be up for sale. I will also have a link inside the description of the video if you would like to contribute to this. If you have a business and you'd like me to mention you, I can do that. If you're interested in being a sponsor for next season, I'm open to that as well. I'll have a Google Drive with some links or some QR codes where you can either donate through Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. But send me a direct message if you're interested in doing something to help out. Not everybody has the time or the ability to do this, so if you'd love to live vicariously through me, I am open to that. The only rust on this entire car is down in the fender well down there. There's a tiny little spot. It's kind of by the handle of that jack. Looks like something hit it at one point. So I know everybody converts these to the single rounds. I've had cabriolets and pickups and all that stuff in the past. I think I'm going to leave this with the squares, just because every time somebody makes a cup car, they always convert it, and I'm completely open to just leaving it and letting it be the way that it was. So what I'm going to do is try to completely document taking this entire car apart. I know I've struggled in the past with different vehicles trying to pull something apart and not knowing how to pull it apart because there's just nothing on the internet about it. So that is my intention this morning. I've gotten up a little early this morning because it's supposed to be 95 or feel like 110. So I'm gonna get right into this. So pretty much everything you need, I think, to pull apart the interior is going to be right here. You pretty much just need some screwdrivers and then like I think a 10, 11, 13, 17, and 19 probably covers everything in the entire car for the most part, other than like if you're taking apart the engine and you need to pull apart the crank, I think you might need like a 22 millimeter. Maybe that's even a 19 too, but very simple to work on these cars. It's one of the reasons why I'm gonna turn this into an autocross car, because it's just extremely easy to work on. Now of course you need coffee too. That's about it. So today I'm gonna start just disassembling I think the door cards, and then take the visors down. I'll probably take the rear seat out, and then the rear speaker covers, and then if I have more time I will start working on the dash. But for now we're going to do the visor covers, or the visors, the sun visors. So the sun visors are held on with 2 screws. Hopefully you can see that. It's kind of hard to see if you can see it. In 1 second. All right, 2 screws right there. That's it. 1, 2. So we'll take those out, and then I'll show you how to finagle them out. This passenger visor is perfect, no problem with it. Over time, these usually get very sloppy. This one is not that way, but unfortunately, this one has broken internally. You can kind of see the rib right here. There's like a card in here, and that card has actually dried out and split. So somebody on eBay will, I imagine, kind of take these apart, slide a new card in there, put it back together. Shouldn't be too hard. Or if nobody buys them, I might do that. So here we go. So just a little screw. And the second one. Now you can see there's a little spring in here. I'll bring this down here so you can see it. Just a little spring that kind of gets the tension on it here, and then the 2 screws just go into these holes here. And that's pretty much it for the sun visors. I'll take the passenger side one out. I like whenever I put anything on eBay for parts or whatever, I like to include the screws. People like having the original hardware. So the rearview mirror on this had already fallen off, but there's a little metal piece that gets glued. It's like this on most cars, but it gets glued right here. That has obviously fallen off. Actually, it's right here. So the way that this works, it's kind of beveled, and it slides into here. Not that way, this way. Slides into here. And then this screw here tightens on this, and that's what holds it in place. So the glue has come off on this. So I can't take this off for you, but I can show you how it's done. So you literally just unscrew this screw here, and that takes tension off of that plate. You screw it back in, puts tension back on the plate, like so. There you go. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is the door cards. So door cards are very easy on these. All you're going to need is a Phillips head and a regular screwdriver. A sip of coffee. Underneath here, there are 2 screws. Hopefully you can see that. We're going to undo those 2 screws. Just kind of get your screwdriver in there, feel for it, you'll find it. And actually, it's a bigger screwdriver, probably like a number 3 or something like that, so I'm going to go grab that real quick. Alright, so we'll go in there, find that screwdriver, and that screw, put some pressure on it. then you'll just unscrew it. I don't know if these are original to the car, being that they're kind of a dark brown and the car is red. Can't say that I know. It's the thing with a lot of these old Rabbits. I mean, this car is from 1982. A lot of time has passed. Things wear, so people grab things from junkyards and swap them in. This color might be original to the car though. Alright, so there's 2 screws. One, the other one's still in here. There's like a rubber grommet in here. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of keep the screw in place. And then they screw into these 2 receivers here on the actual door. So that's how you take this off. Alright, next thing will be the latch. So the latch has a little cover in the back of it here. Hopefully you can see this. So pull this out, and there's a little cup in the back, and there's a tiny little notch right here. You put your screwdriver in, and just pull that out. When you pull that out, it exposes this screw right here. That screw will allow us to remove the door card, because this kind of holds the top of the door card in place because of this trim piece. So it's a very short screw. It's got a little retainer with it. Don't lose that. Once you pull that off, you kind of pull the handle out, and then you can slide this retainer out. Now, what I like to do when I store these is I put the screw back inside, and then I put the cup back inside as well. And then that holds that in place there. Alright, so now, can't take this part out yet because we need to take the door card off. So the door card just snaps in place. On some of the newer models, they must have had a problem eventually, but on some of the newer models, there's actually a screw that goes into the door right here. This one does not have that. So this just snaps into place. So you kind of just want to get your hands behind it. I like using a screwdriver sometimes. Just kind of pop them. You're probably going to break these because they're so old, especially if it hasn't come out in a long time. Not always though. They can be replaced, and I'll show you how. And unfortunately, this is really the only way you can get these out, because there's not a way to access it from the other side. Like I said, you'll probably end up breaking some of these, but I'll show you how to fix that. It's not too hard. Alright, she's off. There we go. Alright. So it's a Christmas tree. But it has this little round piece here. And the way that these work, and this is why I said it didn't matter too much if you end up breaking them, because you can screw them back in. But you take this piece here, this round point, put it into that hole, and you just rotate it, and that brings it back in there. So if you snap some of these, it's not the end of the world. You can pull them out, you just rotate them out, and then you can grab some new ones, and they'll pop in. If you get some spots where it's split here, the easiest thing to do is just get some super glue, put it in there and just clamp it, and that'll keep it, or even wood glue. It is like a type of particle board, so you can just put some wood glue in like this split here, clamp it, and it'll be absolutely fine. If you like to reupholster these, which is fairly easy to do too, you can see there are little staples here all the way around. all you have to do is undo all of the staples, and then you'll put down the fabric that you're going to wrap the cards in, trace it. I'd cut it in the same exact pattern, and then just, you know, apply it. Pay attention to how it's stapled on here, the parts that are overlapped and whatnot, and then you can reupholster these really easy. They also make vinyl paint. I like to, if you're gonna re-dye them, use like I think DuPont makes a paint. There's a couple other, Krylon I think makes a paint as well. But essentially all you got to do is, I like to wipe it down with acetone first, so that it gets all the greases and oils off, and then you can spray them. I did that with a blue set, turned them black. They looked great. All right, so to remove the door handle, now I'm going to leave this because I need to get into the car, but I'm going to show you how to take it off. It's very easy. You can see that there is a kind of a hook right here. So you can see that there's a hook right here. This goes over to the latch over here on that side. Latch. When you pull this, it pulls this rod here, which then opens the latch down there. All you gotta do to take this off, there are two, I believe, 10mm bolts. One right here, one right here. Undo those, and then you are able to take the handle out, and you can kind of move it along the curve of the rod, and you can pop that out. I will eventually take these off so I can put the full handle set up. I'll go find another set at a junkyard, probably a black set, to put in here so that whoever wants to buy a lot of the red interior things can have the red stuff, because red's a little more rare than the black stuff. Because I can pull these from pretty much any Mark 1 from, you know, probably when they start, 73 or 74 or whatever, all the way up until the 92 cabriolets. They use the same exact handles. So there's a junkyard nearby that has a bunch of cabriolets. I'll probably go grab the handles from there, so I can put that in there and then sell this. Also, if you have a handle that looks like this, it's a little sun faded, if you grab a heat gun and you hit this with some heat, it'll get rid of all that oxidation, and this will look brand new. I'll probably do that as well. It'll look just as good as this. What else we got? I am not taking the windows out, so I'm not going to go over that. I do not know if these windows actually crank, so eventually I'll have to figure that out. It looks like this has stripped, so I might have to replace these at some point, but basically on the back side of this, there is a mechanism that turns, that brings the window up and down. There's two bolts here to do it. I believe you go in through here, and there's some couple other spots. You'll have to pull the plastic off, and then you basically undo the carriage that holds the window up, and you can pull that out if you need to. I might do that at some point just to show you, but for now I'm not going to cover that. To remove the door latch, it's pretty easy. There's two hex screws here. You just undo those. Eventually I will also replace this door handle, because the door handle was messed up. The tab on the inside had broken. There is a screw right here that screws into that. And actually, let me just check to make sure it's not just unscrewed. Previous owner had a strange way of opening the car with like pulling the handle out and squeezing it and all that kind of stuff. You can notice that there's a spot right here. There's like a little divot. That is so you can put your screwdriver into the screw and then move your screwdriver this way, and that allows for you to be able to turn the screw. So what I'm going to do is unscrew it a little and then just tighten it. See if it helps the handle. Nope. So the handle is broken in here. There's a little tab that screws into that screw. That was the anti-theft part of this handle so that somebody can't pull the handle off, because if you do take it off, there is just a tab in there that ends up getting pushed down. Very easy vehicles to break into, unfortunately. I didn't tell you that. So you want to make sure your handles are in good shape. All right, we're going to move over to the other side and take the other door card off. Sorry, trying to get it even here somewhat. Good enough. So again, pull this out, get the screwdriver behind, pops the cup out, grab our Phillips head. We're going to take this little screw out, pull the handle out, pop out the retainer. Like I said, I like to put the screw back in the cup. So, keeps it all in one place. Take our screwdriver, we're going to grab the 2 screws underneath here. These screws screw into, like I said, little plastic retainers, so it's not often that these strip. Every once in a while that will happen. It's very annoying. You just got to work at it. If you absolutely have to, you can obviously just rip it out and break the plastic behind it. Just keep in mind that you're going to have to find one of these in a junkyard to find that little retainer. So if you start down here, make sure you can see this. If you start down here, there's like a little lip. It's a little easier to get your hand under. You can pop these out. I have some plans for these door cards. Being that this is going to be a race car, I don't necessarily need the card. I might do something fancy and just like directly wrap these. We shall see what ends up happening. Sometimes I make plans and those plans don't happen, so I won't get too deep into my plans. But again, door cards out. Also, this door card has the chrome peeling off. I can show you a little later a little trick to bring that back with a marker they use in like model painting. Alright, let's see, what do I want to do next? Let's take the shifter boot apart. So shifter boot here, your knob threads on, like so. Your boot, like this whole thing comes apart. Somebody previously had taken this apart already, so I'm just going to pull it off and show you how to take it apart. So you can see underneath here there is like a metal retaining system. These are nice. The newer ones, I believe, were plastic and they suck, they break. These have little ears inside here. You see it right there, you just push it. Let's see if I can let you see this. You just push it and it separates it here. You just go all the way around and it will pop out like so. The actual boot here is stapled to it. There's like a really thick staple, so what I'd recommend is maybe if you replace this, just pull these apart with some pliers and save them, and then whatever fabric you decide to redo this with, if you do that, just kind of puncture it with the staple and then bend it back into place. The actual surround has 3 screws in it. 1, 2, 3. When you pull this off, after you've unscrewed the shifter mechanism and stuff, and you pop this off. This will be on the floor like so, and you'll just undo those 3 screws and this will pop right out. Let's see what else is easy to do right now. Let's go to the back of the car. The hood strut in this is shot, so I have a piece of PVC that I'm using to hold it up. There is a parcel shelf back here, so I'm going to take that out. That's very easy. This one actually, typically there are some screws here that are screwed into, I believe, the back of the seat here. Those have already been unscrewed, so I don't have to do that. But we're going to take out this so that I can access these radio covers or radio mounts. So this is easy. This one is still in great shape. The rubber's still in good shape. It's held up on these little tabs. So we're just going to pull this out. These earlier ones are made of plastic. I don't know that the newer ones are. In like the 90s cabriolets, they might have made them out of like a particle or a press board. Alright, so over the years, plastic obviously gets very brittle, and these are notorious for breaking, these speaker covers here. So I'm going to make sure I take my time. There is a screw right here, and then get this to a point where you can kind of see down here too. And then there is a screw over here. Let's see if these little lights will work. Okay, so there's a screw down here. There's a screw right here. There is a nut right here, and then a nut right here. So screw, 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 nut, nut, and that will pull this apart. So this screw over here on this one, over here, has already been taken out. So I'm going to work my way around. Luckily this car is not super rusty. Sometimes these screws can be a pain to get out. This is something I will not need in a race car whatsoever. So I'm good to just take this apart. And so, like I said, the plastic on these gets super brittle, so it's fun finding these in good shape. I've always appreciated dismantling these cars and selling parts, because I know somebody else will be able to restore their car. I'm going to grab the appropriate nut for that, or socket rather. The smallest one I grabbed was a 10. I think it's probably smaller than a 10. Yes. I think it's an 8mm socket. I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. Let's see. It is indeed an 8mm socket. So I'm actually going to use a little breaker bar for this, because I do not want to overdo anything or slip. Sometimes these can strip too, so they're really rusty. This one's not bad. Seems to be coming out. Figured I'd grab an extension just to make life a little easier so I can get this all the way around. I've found these in junkyards before. You take them apart and you end up breaking them, and it just makes you very sad. This is actually the first Rabbit that I have owned with actual intention of keeping it. Back in 2000, probably 10 or 11, I ended up with a Rabbit. Might have been at 82 as well, actually. It was blue, it was caged. But I did not have a garage nor a way to do anything fun with it, so I ended up selling it. Alright, so we got all the screws out. It's going to be somewhat tight. And you can see here, this is previously broken, but it's not in too bad a shape. So kind of like a little archaeologist here, try to take it apart as smooth as possible. Because this can be glued easy enough. So just kind of give it a little wiggle. And I will reassemble this part here. So it's right here that broke. It's not the biggest deal. It can be super glued back together. So I'll do that. Screws and nuts I will include. I'll swing this around. We'll do the same over here. Sometimes the plastic kind of just sticks to the surface here, but this one came off flawlessly. No little cracks. This one got a teeny tiny crack in there, but it's not going to bother anything. Good shape. Screws. All right. So here's a little bit of rust I was talking about. It's just that little spot right there. The rest is just all kind of surface rust from being a tire well. Probably don't care about this too much. If I find that I do, the junkyard that I have nearby me I think has a tire well that I could cut out and weld in if need be. Looks like we've had some Mises in here doing a little bit of work maybe. Maybe it's just time, but obviously these are kind of falling apart. Not sure what I'm gonna do yet as far as the lighting. These are cracked. I may have a solution. For some reason these clear ones almost always break off, so but to find a full set is somewhat rare in good shape, so that's something I'll probably have to spend some money on. Like I said, I want to keep this original square lights rather than going with cabriolet lights. I have a full set of cabriolet lights, the smaller ones that are like this big, but kind of want to keep the original look. I'm going to keep the side markers as well because I hope to have this on the road at some point. Alright, we're back. I'm going to do the rear seats now, pull those out. So we're going to start with this here. So there's two screws that hold this in, and then once that is undone we can pull the bottom portion out. I believe, you know what, it's been a while since I've done a Rabbit seat. Let's pull around here. So there's latches here that you pull up. Yeah, so I think it's just those, or there might be a bolt down here. We'll find out. So first thing we're going to do is take those screws out. Let me see if I can get this set up in a way that you can see it. Right. So that's that runner here. It comes off. We can do the other side as well. I believe that just kind of like protects the carpet. So all you have to do is undo those two screws. There is a little bar thing here that this slips into. That keeps the rear seat from moving forward. And then you grab this here and just pull it up and towards you, and the whole thing pops out. You can tell in the 80s they were very concerned with passenger safety. If you didn't get it, that was sarcasm. There's more to it. Alright, a little more safe. Not much more safe though. There are little bars on the side. I'll bring you around so you can see it. Hey, it's starting to look like a race car now. Well, not really, but it's one step closer. All right. All right, so now we can remove the rear seat belts here. Some nice red seat belt receivers. We can do this here. Looks to me like maybe a 17 or a 19. Let's find out. 17, 19. It is a 17 millimeter. Got a ratchet on there. And that. Now we're going to take the side ones out. Looks like it also uses a 17 millimeter. Something I've discovered about working in a 1982 Rabbit is it makes your back feel like you're 82. So again, 17 millimeter socket, just this one bolt. Hopefully everybody finds this useful. If you've got comments or questions, or you need me to talk about something else, let me know. So there's multiple components to this bolt here that go into this rear receiver. You have your bolt, which has a bit of a shoulder. There's a nylon washer that allows this to move around, another nylon washer, and then this spacer here that sits down in here. I think that that's going to give proper spacing so that this doesn't bind up. I will include all of that with this belt, which is in fantastic shape because chances are it wasn't used much. I'll spin this around, do the same thing on the other side. So that's the rear seat belts. Rear door cards. So like I was mentioning on some of the newer models, this little cap here is on the bottom front corner on some of the newer Mark ones to hold the front door card on. They did that on this rear one for whatever reason. So this is just one big piece. It's just going to pop in. You can see these tabs down here. I think that it kind of like pops and then we pull it up and out. But we need to take that screw off first, so we'll do that. And excitingly, I have both of these little red caps for the backs. That's kind of cool. It's little things like those red caps that get all Volkswagen guys excited because they fall off over time and it's hard to find them. So it's fun. And what I'll do is I'll put that red cap back on the screw so it doesn't get lost. Alright, so that was disconnected. So now we're going to have to very carefully try to get this off without breaking anything. I'm going to pull the screw on the other side because I'm closer to it. Again, I'll put that little red cap on it like so. I'm going to spin this around since I'm over here. Like I said, this thing is making me feel like I have an 82-year-old back. I'm going to work my way around with a screwdriver, hopefully not crack anything. If I do end up cracking something, I will then just wrap this with fabric to make it look fancy, but it looks like it's doing very well. Alright, so also when you get around here, this is tucked into the weather trim, so you need to pull the weather stripping out a little bit to expose this edge. It goes all the way down, and then we will work our way down and around. And that's it. Then you got to finagle around the seat belt here. I'm sorry. Get the seat belt, so just pull it out, tuck it underneath, and that pulls out like so. And exposes this nice big empty area. Everything looks really clean though. No rust down there. I'll have to get a flashlight going and I can see, actually, my tool is a flashlight. Oh, a little mud dauber down there. Somebody made a home. Make sure to collect rent later. Alright, we're going to do the same thing on the other side over here. Alright, don't do what I just did. Don't just go at it. Get a big screwdriver in there. If that doesn't work, you might be screwed. Alright, well here's a better example. Don't just rail on it with an impact. Get a big screwdriver and take your time. Alright, that just unscrews. It's got a little rubber, or I guess it's plastic sleeve that is for, I believe, the seat to click in on the back. So I'll show you this. So literally this, it's just going to be glued on there. It looks like there's a fat chance of me getting this off in one piece. It's already quite destroyed. And actually, with as brittle as this is, I'm not going to worry about it because there's no way I'm going to be able to ship that. So now it's just trash. There goes that. Well, because of that, I don't care about this one anymore. Gone. Gone and not forgotten. Alright, so that takes pretty much the rear interior out. Not worried about this disgusting piece of fabric. I'll pull that off. Looks like it's somewhat tucked into the gasket. The gasket on the inside's not too bad. Eventually, I want to pull this silly I'm gonna need a heat gun and a razor blade probably to get that off. Alright, well, goodbye old fabric. Alright, so that gets the rear here taken apart. Alright, next what we're going to do is take out the front seat belts. So again, this is going to be a 17mm socket. One good thing about these old Volkswagens is they do keep things consistent. So we're going to take this bottom one off. And I realize at some point, depending on what I do for seats, I'm going to have to buy new seat belts, but I probably will have some sort of harness in here instead. So there's that one, there's one down here, and then I'll show you how to take the top part off. So I'm down at the bottom, easy, just take the bolt out. This bottom one is similar to the back seat where you have like a sleeve or collar, nylon washer, and the bolt. That again just allows this to have some sort of mobility, I believe. Alright, and then up top here, this cover just pops off. I'm going to use a screwdriver, get under it, and then just pop it right off. That will expose another bolt. Just get under it, under where the these parts are. It just basically pops on over this bolt, kind of just slides down on it. So you want to kind of pry it off so that this part disengages and then lift it up. And then once that's done, you've got this 17mm. Again, I'm not too worried about keeping these bolts. I'm going to include them with the seat belt because I have a source for them. And I might even have them in a bucket of old Mark I parts. Again, same sort of washer, sleeve nut sort of situation. And these seat belts are good, they get good recoil to them still. So hopefully that'll make somebody nice and happy. And so that I don't lose this or any of these, I'm just going to slide this back on, and then I will probably just masking tape this stuff together or put all the screws in a baggie or something. Alright, let's switch positions. We'll take the other side off. And we got a 17mm down here. Complete red seat belts removed. But I'll take the receivers off now too. Alright, this car actually still has the fancy dancy black seat rail covers. I will not be needing those either, so I'll take those off. Somebody's already removed the screw that's in the front of these. So essentially you just remove this screw and then they kind of just like slide off. I believe that they kind of slide in like that, so I'm going to have to pull it back that way. Let's see if I can make this happen without damaging it. There we go. Let's give it a little wiggle. Slides off. So there's a little tang right here that locks in the front, and this back one, this whole part is engaged, so you have to get it to a point where it's outside of the rail, and then you kind of just like lift up on it. This one's being a little more finicky, trying not to break it. There we go. I think that it's actually just bonded with the carpet a little bit. There we go. Get that one out. Perfect condition. Clean those up. Oh, looks like somebody had some sort of gum. Maybe gum. Actually, it says pull on it. This might be from a cigarette box. Cool. Alright, so these rail pieces are out. So I will sell these with the other seat belt, so it's a complete set. So I'm going to take these off. It's another 17mm bolt. Bolt is, let's see if you can see this. Bolt's right here. So we'll take that off. Kind of a tight spot, but I should be able to get it out. Again, 1980s simplicity. Gotta love it. There we go. Just pops right out. Screws in. That's about it. The nut portion is built into the rail. Let's see if we can get you to see that. So the nut portion here is built right into the rail, so it just screws into there, so there's no like other part to include with this. Let me get you back in the stand here. We're getting close to not having any battery, so I may have to stop this for now, which will give me a good stopping point because it's getting very humid out. Like I said, it's supposed to be like 95 today. Probably a real feel of 110. That's what it was the other day. So the driver's seat also has something the passenger seat does not, which is a connector to let the car know that there's somebody in the driver's seat. So what I will do is I will take the driver's seat out. I'll show you how to do that before this battery dies. And then I'll show you how to take that connector out. Alright, so seats are very easy. There is a little nut down here. See if I can get this to focus. Alright, so there's a nut right here, and this little thing here is you can put a screwdriver in. So put the screwdriver in there, put your socket over here, take this off. This will allow you to pull this forward to release the seat so it can move back and forth, because there's a pin right here that slides into holes in this rail. See how that happens. This spring is a little tired. This probably needs some adjusting. But basically, we're going to pull this out. We'll undo this, and that will allow this whole seat to pull back completely so that it disengages from this holder, and then it will just pop right out. So we'll have to disengage this spring right here. So we'll put that in. We'll use a screwdriver. We'll pull the spring out. That will allow this pin to come completely out, so that this will disengage from this as well too. So we'll work on that real quick. And that is a 10mm there. Alright, so screwdriver in this side, socket in this side. To be honest, this is actually the first time I've seen it with this little screwdriver end. I like that. Usually somebody just replaces this with a bolt, because it doesn't really matter at the end of the day as long as there's something through here. Alright, just get that off. So it has a little screw end thing, a lock washer, goes through, has another lock washer, and then the nut. I will include this with the seat. Now we need to disengage this spring. So just kind of get behind the loop, go forward, that'll pop it out, ideally. Disengaged. Pull this pin all the way out. You basically just, you're going to pull this out, and then that will allow you to kind of rotate this a little, and just actually leave it in there. Now that it's pulled all the way out, you can pull this back, and then we can take the pin out with the two springs, and you can see this came out completely. So now we've got to disengage the seatbelt connector, which is right here. So I'm just going to undo this here, just pulls apart like so. And now the driver's seat is out. So the way that this has nice smooth action, looks like somebody has replaced this at some point, or it's just in amazing condition. But this here allows for fluid motion, sliding forward and back. And then the rear also has some plastic clips that go on the back portion that slides into the rail here, this rail. And that is what gives you a nice smooth motion. It's just that plastic. So that will conclude what I have going on for today. I'm going to do the other side. You don't need to see that because it's exactly the same. But I've only got 6% battery on this, so I'm gonna go put this on the charger and we'll pick up where we left off later. thanks for joining. I hope this was fun. I hope this was helpful. Some of the stuff I did today was on the easier side. We'll get to doing the dash later and the steering wheel and all of that. I'll show you how to take the steering wheel apart. I'll probably am going to leave it on there for now until I grab another one. I have been told that I can take the power steering assist from a Prius and it will actually, with some finagling and wizardry, I can get it to work on this steering column. I'll have to basically cut this column or maybe get another one to cut and experiment with. But you basically put it in line with the steering column and it improves your input by like 10 times or something. So that way I can leave the manual rack in here and not have the extra weight and draw on the engine of a power steering pump. But I will get better input or better output for my input on steering. But again, we'll take this dash apart, pull the rest of this interior apart very soon. So thanks for joining. Like, subscribe, click the links down at the bottom, check out what else I have going on, and thank you very much. See ya.